Well, hello everybody! Welcome to G Bear's Off-Grid Ways, a homestead in the desert, March 20th, 2020. That's 3/20/2020. All right. Today is the first day of spring. Yay, spring. Where are you? Anyway, you see the rain over there? Well, you see the clouds overhead? That was all pouring over there all day today. I mean, really coming down over there, just on this side of the mountains. And none of it got here. Now the sky is starting to break up a little bit. The clouds are breaking up a little bit, except up by the mountains. All through here, nice and dark. These are all rain clouds, but they're not dropping anything right now, except a little atmospheric up top high there. And then way down over there and over there I'm getting some rain, and over there I'm getting some rain, and over there I'm getting some rain. Didn't get any rain here. Anyway, the first day of spring, and we're going to have a giant spring celebration. Celebration? Oh, one of those things anyway. And what we're going to do is we're going to give away free subscriptions. Yeah, you can subscribe to my channel today, absolutely, positively free, with no other hidden things behind it. It's just, you can just click the subscribe button, won't cost you a penny, and this is today. Yes, you can do it. And when you click the subscribe button, a little bell icon will pop up. It'll say, click here for notifications. Click on that and you'll be notified by email every time I post a new video, so you won't miss anything. What a great deal. How can you pass that up? It's free. Whoa. All right. Now that we've got that passed, actually, it's not only free on the first day of spring, it's free all the time. You can come anytime to my channel, click subscribe, be counted. And why would you want to do that? Well, I just installed the randomizing name picker. It's an app I installed on my phone. And what I do is I'm going to be starting to give things away. And I will only be able to give things away to those who are subscribed to my channel. So you have to have a subscription to my channel in order to qualify for the giveaways. And in order to do that, all you'd have to do is, like I said, click subscribe. And when a little bell icon comes up, click on that. And then you'll be notified whenever I post a new video, because you're not going to want to miss any of these ones that I'm going to have upcoming. You're going to want to watch those, because you're going to be able to win stuff. And I'm going to be putting everybody's name who qualifies on this randomizing app, and then I will later on click on the randomizing shake button. It'll shake up everybody's name and then pick one out of the group automatically, so I don't have to do that by drawing little tags out of a hat or anything like that. And what I'll probably do is I'll probably use my iPad, so that when I do the randomizing pick, which is an app on my smartphone, I will video that whole thing using the iPad, so that you can watch the random names being picked. And then you'll know right off the bat if you're a winner. But you have to be a subscriber to be a winner. So darn it, get out there and subscribe. All right, so we got that. Next thing, the weather is ridiculous. Rain everywhere except right here. Yep. Well, my neighbor Letty was down again today. I had a few things that she forgot to pick up yesterday, so I did make sure that she got that stuff. And I did go into a store today, so I called them, asked if there was anything they needed, and picked it up on my way while I was picking my mail up. And yeah, the stores, well, there was lines, but maybe they had 3 registers open, and they maybe had 4 people in each line. And that was about it. Not a really big hassle or anything like that. Of course, there's a lot of the shelves are slim pickings, especially toilet paper. I don't need any. I'm set with toilet paper probably for the next 6 months or so. But my neighbors needed some, and I checked for them. Nobody had any. Kind of weird. Of course, you can always install a bidet. Then you don't need toilet paper, right? Or you can install a portable bidet. And a portable bidet, you can actually set one up if you're off-grid like I am. Go to Home Depot, buy yourself a Hudson sprayer. That's a pump sprayer for gardens. You can pump it up. Well, you can put your warm water inside the Hudson sprayer. And you'll probably have to bend the wand a little bit so you get a nice little curl on it like that. And then you can mount it underneath your toilet seat in your outhouse. And all you have to do is press on the little lever on the wand, and that'll spray water. So you can take a bottle of warm water out with you, pour it into the Hudson sprayer before you use the outhouse, and then you have your own portable little bidet. So don't worry about it if there's no toilet paper. That's why God made soap and water. Wash your hands. Oh, you can get around it. This isn't going to kill us all. We'll get past it. All right. Well, I got that in there. So next is the Pesticator. That electronic rodent chaser that plugs into the wall and chases, supposed to chase rodents. Well, it might work for you, but it doesn't work here. So last night, the little bugger in the attic woke me up again at 3 a.m. and drove me nuts until I got up this morning. So I got up and I had an old Smith & Wesson pepper spray canister. And I figured, well, I don't need pepper spray out here, so I just opened up the little attic port and I sprayed pepper spray up there, and it was quiet. But it was only quiet for about 4 hours, and then they started again. Oh, well. Anyway, this is the Pesticator 2000 Plus. This is the item I'm talking about. Well, it's not in here. It's still plugged in the wall. It's coming out. Next trip to Home Depot, this will get returned. This was about $29 with tax. Maybe even 30 bucks with tax. And, yep, it says it's a patented pulse technology, made in the USA, money back guarantee, 60-day right there. Well, I've had it probably for 25 days or so. And no, it didn't do any good for me. So, what the heck? It'll get returned. All right. I got that put in there. Last of all, I was requested, and we're going to head out to the battery room. I was requested to do a little sketch schematic of how to wire up solar and wind PMA, and how to make all the connections, and how a dump load controller works. All right, so what I did, and get ready, because you can pause this video so that you can do a screen shot of your of the video and get a copy of this this little drawing that I did. And when you first look at it, it's going to look a little overwhelming, but then I'm going to show you a smaller drawing of the wiring for the charge controller with the dump load on it, separate from the whole thing, because there's a lot of wiring that goes involved in here. Now, I'm using 6-volt batteries. My system is a 12-volt system, so these are tied in series parallel. And like I mentioned before, you take the first 6-volt battery and you go from positive to negative on that. That ties two batteries together and makes two 6-volts, a 12-volt battery. That, by tying them together there, from positive to negative, you'll have a positive on this side and a negative on this side. So now you got a 12-volt battery. And I've done that with all of these. Every two of these is a 12-volt battery. And then you tie all the positives together, loop them around, and you tie all the negatives together in the back and then loop them around. Okay, so here's the schematic. Are you ready? Here's what I did. This is the drawing. So don't forget, you can pause this so that you can get a better look at the wiring diagram. And I'm sorry I didn't take the time to do it all on a computer. I just hand sketched it out, and hopefully it'll be something that you can understand. All right, so let's start off with the solar panels. Okay, so here's the solar panels. They go through a solar controller. Then you have, I put in, out, and load. In is the solar, out is battery, and load is a load like a light bulb or something like that. Okay, so you don't really have to put a load on, but it's good to do because when you set the controller to max at, say, 14.2 volts, if the solar panels start overcharging and you get up to 14.3, 14.4, the light bulb will come on automatically and burn off that extra electricity. So it's a good thing to have some kind of a load on there. I don't use it because I have my dump load set up, and that takes care of the whole system. Okay, so here's the solar panels. Okay, so the solar panels come in and they connect to the solar connection of the controller. Okay, and it doesn't matter if it's an MPPT, you'll have a solar, a battery, and a load connection. Solar, battery, and load connection. Okay, so the solar comes in and goes into your controller. Then coming out of the controller are your battery connections, and those just go straight to the battery. Okay, so your positive to your positive pole your battery, negative to the negative pole of battery. Now, in the drawing you'll see that I suggest you go from the positive pole of the first battery to the negative pole of the last battery, so that you're using the whole group of batteries to get the power through. The power has to run through all the batteries, not just through one battery and then self-feed out to the others. You're going to run through the whole set at one time. Now, because I have multiple shelves of batteries, I have my positive connections down at the bottom and my negative connections up at the top at the first battery. First battery, last battery. Okay, so that's showing it right here. So first battery, positive, last battery, negative. Okay, and that's for your solar now. Now, next is the PMA. 3 wires come in off of PMA. Only 2 wires come in off of PMG. One is a generator, one is an alternator. A generator is DC, and it has the rectifier is built into the system. A alternator does not have 2 wires. It has 3 wires. They'll all be black, and they don't have any specific order to hook them up to the rectifier. You can hook them up any order to the rectifier on the 3-pin side. That's right here. Okay, these are the 3 black ones coming in from my PMA. And then I come out of those connections and I put in these big old 60 amp fuses. Now you could use 50 amp, but because I get really high winds out here, I went to 60 amp just to make sure that they're protected. And that would be just like these 3 wires connecting directly to these 3 connections. Coming out of that, on the other side of your rectifier, you're going to have 2 connections. One is positive, one is negative, and they'll be marked. So you have a red wire for positive, black wire for negative, and then I run them through this little meter. So this meter keeps track of the inputs and outputs and the exact battery charge at what the batteries are right now. Okay, so it's showing that they're at 13.1, 13.2, somewhere in there. And you can see I'm up here, same thing, 13.3, within a tenth of a volt. And that just went up from the 13.1 because the got a little bit more sun out of those clouds. It's been cloudy all day, remember that. So I've been using my solar panels. There's no wind. My solar panels have been charging my batteries all day, even though I have electricity, like 2 refrigerators and other things running inside the cabin. I still have 13.3 in the batteries because I have amorphous panels out there from Harbor Freight Tools. Those amorphous panels will pick up even subdued sunlight and give you a charge. So my battery is a fully charged plus some. 12.6 is full battery. All right, back to the schematic here. So you come into the rectifier on the 3 side with your fuses in line, and then you come out of that and you go to the positive and negative of the batteries out of the rectifier. Okay, directly to the battery. Now if you had a PMG, you'd have 2 wires, one would be red, one would be black. This rectifier won't be here, it'll be built in up here. So you have 2 wires coming out, they just go straight to the batteries. Okay, so that's that simple. Your solar panels are connected positive and negative to the battery bank. Your rectifier is, or your PMG or PMA is connected directly to the batteries. All right, so what happens if you have more power coming in than your batteries can handle? Well, that's where a dump load controller comes in. And I said that before, dump load controller looks a little bit busy here, so we'll turn this over, and I simplified this a little bit for you. Okay, so you pause for a second, so you can pause and print screen on this one if you want to. And I only used 2 batteries in the diagram here, 2 6-volt batteries to make one 12-volt battery tied in series parallel. That's where I went from the positive to the negative between 2 batteries, leaving a positive and a negative at the end. So that took 2 6-volts and turned it into a 12-volt battery. Okay, so your dump controller, PWM dump controller, with the specific, these are special solenoids. Don't think that you can just go use a Ford solenoid for this. You'll burn the thing up. Those aren't designed to stay connected for a long period of time. These do get hot, so I made sure I put a cooling fan connection on mine. Okay, so here's the heating element, and you could use any type of heating element. You can use a little electric water heater element, 12 volt. You can buy those online, but I'm using this one because this one actually came with that green controller right there, and that's supposed to be able to handle wind at the top and solar at the bottom. I do not like this. I never got good run out of the wind side of this thing, so I don't use it. But you know, you might like it that way. I don't like it. I like to use it the way I've got it set up. So here is the PWM charge controller. Now this is not the same as that. You see, this one has 3 buttons here for checking the different modes on this thing and turning the load on and off. Okay, this one is set up for over voltage automatically from the solar. It's all, you're not using solar on this, but you got the load coming here. Okay, so this will tell you when you got an over voltage automatically, and it will send the power down to the solenoid from the load connection to these 2 screws on the front of the solenoid. Okay, so the 2 side lugs are basically just a switch. When this thing is activated by power coming out of here on the positive negative on the load side, because this went over 14.2 and the batteries are reading over 14.2, this will click on to go to automatically to load, and that'll cause power to come to these 2, which will close the magnetic switch in here, and then it'll let power flow between this post and this post. So this post is tied to the battery bank on the positive pole of the battery. Now this should go to the first positive pole of the battery way down there. I've set it up like this because I was in a hurry putting it together, and I never did change it back. So here's your battery connection. You got a red, and they had a green. That's the way it came. But for the DC voltage, it should be red and black. Red positive, black negative. But green is always ground. So same thing. All right. So that goes down to the negative pole of the battery right there, on the negative, from the negative battery. The solar connection is not used. All right, and this is a specific, like I said, this is a specifically made controller. You can't use one of those controllers efficiently. You probably could, but you won't. It won't be designed to be the same as this. This just has a work mode button here for setting, and you got settings like 1 through 6 on here, and you can set those in. In the instructions, it'll tell you what each setting means. But anyway, you see the two smaller wires. That's this little CPU fan that I use as a cooling fan, because these things will get hot while they're connected together. It's an electromagnetic switch, and there's power going to it, and it's going to get hot. So I set this up so that when power comes out of the load center here and activates the solenoid, it'll also turn the fan on, which blows cold air past my unit and keeps it cool. Because you don't want that super hot stuff in here. That'll cause fires, especially because you got hydrogen gas coming off your lead acid batteries. So the only ones we're using are the battery connection and the load connection. The battery connection goes to positive and negative of the battery bank, and then the charge controller comes automatically with these two wires connected here for positive and negative. Okay, now you could change, this is the way it came, and you could change these out and put a red and a black if you wanted, but you can just see right here, it says positive, negative, you know which one is which. Okay, so that activates, and when it does, it sends power through the switch on the positive side, and it comes up through this wire, goes through a 20 amp fuse, and goes up to the heating element. Okay, so that's showing that right here, coming off the positive 20 amp fuse and going up to the green heating element. Okay, and right there at the green heating element. So then it sends power through the heating element, and it comes out the negative side here. There's your negative side, and that goes right back to the battery, negative pole of the battery bank. All right, that's all there is to it. It's that simple to hook up. Now, these settings, I didn't put anything on there because the settings, like I said, when you buy this online, and I think this is made by Missouri Wind and Solar, it comes as a complete unit with the mounting plate and everything already. You don't get the fan with it. You'll have to buy one of those separately. I went to a used computer store and I bought a bunch of these fans. I have them everywhere. This one's running right now, and it doesn't need to be running. So I put a switch on this. Okay, so I can shut it off. And all it is tied into the positive and negative poles of the rectifier on the output side. So I have power when I want it by just flipping a switch. It turns on and it keeps the rectifier cool. These will also get hot. So you want to make sure they're on a heat sink. And this is what a heat sink is. It's an aluminum thing with fins on it that helps disperse heat. Because these things do get hot. And then I put the fan on there as a safety precaution. And the fan can run all the time or shut off because it uses very little power. No big deal. This is like less than a half an amp of DC 12 volt power. So it's very, very, very little power to run these things 24/7. But if you're running on the edge of your power supply system, then you want to put a switch in here. So when the winds aren't blowing, just come out and flip the switch, shut the thing off. You notice I don't worry about whether I'm touching these little wires. It's 12 volt DC. It's not going to jolt you if you turn it on with your finger touching the connections. Okay? Don't do that on the AC side here. All right, so that gives you the wiring for the dump controller. And here it is again. And just in case you want to pause this and print screen, you can do that now or watch the video a second time and do it then. All right, so the last thing is the connecting the inverter. Now this is, according to Power Jack, they call this one a grid tie inverter. And the reason for that is it has the hardwire outputs here, line 1, line 2, and neutral. And those go to the circuit panel inside. Okay, so here's the 12 volt DC inverter, 120 volts AC, 240 volts AC. The difference between those two is line 1 and neutral create 120 volts. Line 2 and neutral create 120 volts. You add 120 and 120, you have 240 volts. And that's what most houses all have, unless it's a very, very old house with a little old 30 amp panel on it. All of the newer houses will all have a 240 volt system. So those wires go into the electrical panel right here. Line 1, line 2, neutral. So you'll have 2 bus bars in there, bus bar 1 and bus bar 2 in the breaker panel. Line 1 ties to one of them, line 2 ties to the other one, neutral ties to the neutral bar. That's the white wires in your electrical panel. All right? Then you're going to have a ground connection on this unit. And you see my ground wires running here. So everything runs to earth ground. I've got the ground wire back here connected going to earth ground. And so is my electrical panel. So you want to make sure that you have a good ground on that. And that's all there is to that. It's that simple. But you want to make sure you go first battery positive to the inverter, last battery negative to the inverter. All right, so that what that does is it uses the whole battery bank as one giant battery instead of just trying to pull off of this one battery here and then let these all have to feed back to that one weakened battery. That's not the good way to do it. You want to use all the way across the whole battery like it's one giant battery. All right. So we've gotten through that. That's the way to do your wiring. Any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll be glad to get back to you and answer those for you. And also on the, one other thing is on the Harbor Freight units here. These are control units. They are usually only like a 10 amp controller. And they're PWM 10 amp controllers. They have their diodes built into these things. So you have to use these, or you have to use an inline diode, which is another wiring thing that if you're going to have a problem with understanding wiring, it's better if you just use your Harbor Freight panels to come in to 100 watts each going into this one controller. 100 watts going into that controller, 100 watts going into that controller, and I have another one of these inside with 100 watts going to that one. And that tells me inside, I don't have to come out here, it tells me how many volts I have in my battery bank without having to come out here to look at it. All right, so here we are, end of day, sun is setting. I still have 12.8 in my battery banks. We're doing fine here. That's 0.2 volts over a full charged battery bank. And it has been overcast all day long. And no wind. So the wind generator has not been making any of this electricity. This is all from solar. And yes, you can do it. All right, everybody, that's all there is for today. G-Bear reminded you, give me a thumbs up down there, please. Don't forget to subscribe. Remember, it's free, 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 free. All right, G-Bear signing off.